Conversations with Goodman. My name is Najla, and I'm the Student Engagement Coordinator for the Goodman School of Business. Today we have Tabish Gill, who is one of our wonderful alumni. Tabish is here today to chat with us about his experiences and what he's been up to since he's been done at Goodman in, I think, 2007. So, Tabish, I think just to kick things off, what's been going on, and where have you been working since you've been completed your time here?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for having me here. It's always great to be back at Brock and be involved in the various initiatives at Goodman. I, like you said, graduated I finished school in fall of 2006. I went through the Bachelor of Accounting co-op program and 4.5-year cycle, and I started full-time at Deloitte in Toronto in January of 2007. And so 9 years later, almost 9 years later, I'm still there, enjoying myself, and I'm actually a senior manager in our technology risk practice, and so a chartered accountant by background, but I focus on risk management, which is a little bit different.
Risk management's become sort of a very popular area for people to go into. They don't quite know about it when they're going through school, but that sort of the risk side has been extremely an interesting place to be in, I think.
Absolutely. And technology is so imperative in everything we do today. It's a growing field and continues to be, as we forecast it for the next 20, 50 years will look like for us.
That's great. So the Bachelor of Accounting program, as we all know, is a very intense program, especially when you add the co-op element to it.
Absolutely.
Do you want to maybe give us a little bit of your time going through the co-op experience, and did you start at Deloitte as a co-op student? How did that go?
Sure, yeah. No, I went through a standard co-op program cycle here, which involved sort of similar co-op cycles. I unfortunately didn't start off my co-op career with Deloitte and actually found my way back to a professional accounting firm. Needless to say, I struggled a bit with getting a co-op placement right away, but was fortunate enough to literally get something the day before Christmas to start in January.
Merry Christmas.
It was. So I actually started in an internal audit department of a regional transit authority in Toronto. Wow. And subsequently continued to network with Brock and work with Brock, including ex-alumni of Brock and whom I found were at Deloitte. So as I was going through that cycle, I was luckily able to secure my next term, and the rest is history. So wow. Did my next 8-month and 4-month term. I also actually spent a couple of summer terms there while I was still at school.
Oh, great.
As I graduated full-time, or I was about to graduate, I was given a full-time offer. So 9 years later, full-time, I'm still there.
Great. And so the time that you did spend on campus here at Brock before it was named the Goodman School of Business, how did you find your time here in helping you prepare for whether it was co-op or whether it was
right.
These additional work experiences that you've had?
Yeah, I mean, as I reflect back on my time here, I didn't know any other university, so I went through the cycle here. I thought this was a pretty standard program to go through, and the help that you had here. It's really what I learned after I've graduated from Brock and gone on to, we call it, the real world. As you know, Najla, I play a recruiting role for the Deloitte Toronto practice, and over the last 6 years, I've been responsible for bringing all the students that come into our practice, and that includes not just Brock, where I spend a fair bit of time in the Goodman School of Business, but also other universities. So what I've been able to actually learn after my time at Brock is that Brock actually does a great job preparing students for the future. Some of the opportunities that we provide here in terms of one-on-one mentoring, direct counseling, including the co-op office, which works tirelessly to get our students engaged, that really is the key here. I can count number of things that I attended over time, whether it was a resume writing workshop or just get the opportunity to do some mock interviews, which I would like to think that I benefited a lot from over the years. So those are just great things to have in a business school.
It's interesting that you touched upon the fact that in order to secure your work experience at Deloitte, you went through all these different opportunities with the co-op office and career office and that sort of thing. And then you were networking with alumni
right.
From Brock at the time in order to ensure that you could get those connections in there. And now you've come around full circle. You are the alumni that comes back and networks with the students, correct?
Absolutely.
So I know that you are part of our alumni network. You're a very active member. You're often on campus. You're often at our events. What makes you want to come back?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I've never really actually sat down and thought about what makes me come back to Brock. I would say, at one point or another, I've always felt a tie back to the school and the community here. I did spend 5 years living here, and I really try to make the most of my experience here. I came from a larger city, and I found the change to move to St. Catharines be very drastic, and obviously spent some time in Thorold. But over time, I think the city did a lot of good things for me. So I was involved in obviously part-time jobs in the city, including involved in a number of initiatives at Brock. So at one way or the other, I've always found myself connected back to Brock, whether it's through other friends whom I graduated with that are still here, and a number of them actually work for the university. So it makes it's almost one of those where you do feel that you owe a little bit back to the school, but at the same time, I did a pretty good job, I think, of establishing real good contacts and relationships that makes me want to come back here.
Great. And lastly, in 30 seconds or less, any advice for future students?
I guess the cliche would be study hard when you're here, but I would say for me, I wasn't a model student. In my very first year, I graduated with a fairly high percentage, but if you take away the first year, it was an interesting one after that. But I would say just get involved. Use the opportunities that are given to you, be engaged in all the school has to offer, and network.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Tabish.
Thank you very much.
We obviously value our alumni coming back and helping out and providing those opportunities to our current students. And thank you to those of you who are watching us today at Conversations with Goodman. Please be sure to check out our other podcasts. The Brock News does a podcast, as well as Consider This. And of course, you'll see myself and Susan on Good Morning Goodman every week. So thank you so much. And Tabish, once again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.